Happy birthday to Maria.
Happy birthday to Hester.
Happy birthday to the Consort Counsellors. Welcome to this very special episode of the Consort Counsellors, in which we celebrate our first year anniversary
by answering the questions that you have sent us during the last week. Thank you to all of you for sending some technical and some personal questions, which we are very happy to answer right now. The first question comes from Poland, from Marcin Kolodziejczyk. Please excuse us if the pronunciation is not quite right.
I noticed that when I try to play something fast, I touch the recorder in my mouth with the tip of my tongue. Do you have some tips for better control of one's articulation while playing fast?
The first tip I would give you is to check very well if the position of the instrument is correct and if you are not putting it too far inside the mouth. So the best thing you can do is actually put it on your lower lip in a way that you are still able to talk. Yes. And then you hear a little bit of the sound of the instrument here. Then you can just close your lips, relax, and blow naturally, and you don't need to put the instrument any farther in your mouth. That will help your articulation a lot. An exercise that I find quite useful when it comes to speeding up gradually your single or your double tonguing is the following. First, you play a series of notes, all of an equal value and all as connected to each other as possible, so you feel the air flowing. Exactly. When you notice the movement of your tongue is as small as possible and everything is relaxed, then you start introducing, whenever you feel is the right moment, 2 notes at double speed, like this. Brilliant. And then, when you feel comfortable with this, you can add groups that are longer and longer of the values that are twice as fast. So at some point you end up playing regularly the double speed. And when you feel comfortable with that, you can take that speed as your basis and work on the double of that. Since articulation is all about speech, this exercise allows us to concentrate just on that and to identify if it's all really smooth and if we are also keeping a nice, beautiful and stable sound. Good luck!
Hello to Evelina Doornbos, who asked us a question about the difference between single and double tonguing.
Single tonguing means indeed that you only use one type of articulation. D, 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 D. You are using single tonguing. And when things get more complicated and you combine 2 different syllables, for example, the T, which is in the front, behind the teeth, and the G or the K in the back, and you make an item out of those 2, then you are using double tonguing. There's also the possibility to combine even 3 of those, and then you have triple tonguing. Hester wrote scripts for our 2 episodes on articulation, and they are both offering you tips and more explanations on this matter, so check out the links in the video description below if you want to know more about single and double tonguing. Marcin also has another question about articulation, which is very interesting. In different sources, like in some contemporary compositions or instruction books or methods, the vowels that accompany articulation are sometimes different. TD or TD or TURU. Is there a difference when you use different vowels and not just different consonants for your articulation?
Yes, there is, because in our experience it works the best if the sides of the tongue touch the back of the teeth in your mouth. If you do that, then the syllables that work best are T and te. tiki 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 tiki, or teka 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 teka. Like this, you avoid too much fluctuation or movement of the tongue in the mouth. However, it depends a little bit on the register you play in. For example, if you have to play high register with a lot of pressure, it might help to use to concentrate the air a lot and to make the air speed even faster. In a contemporary composition, it might be the case that the composer wants specific vowels for the articulation because it gives a certain effect. Like in the example Marcel sent us, a contemporary composition by Dietrich, the specific vowels are asked doogadu doogadu. And it's different from.
We have another question about articulation from Felipe Cardoso da Costa from Brazil. He wants to know when is the right tempo in which you should switch from single into double tonguing. How do you know when to use each of those?
This is all personal, because it differs from person to person when the threshold is to go to the double tonguing. For example, I do have quite a fast single tongue, so I might shift to the double tongue much later than someone else. But then someone else's double tongue might be overdeveloped and very, very smooth. All that matters is how it sounds. What is the result?
In most historical sources about recorder and woodwind playing, they recommend through the centuries that we keep the articulation as simple as we can, as long as we can. Arsene also sent us a question about how much should you ideally move your fingers when you play the recorder. Some people say that they should stay as close as possible to the finger holes. In practice, he notices a lot of recorder players actually taking them quite far away from the instrument. So what is now the right thing to do?
The activity of the fingers, they should be really quite precise, because there's one moment in which they should move to have the optimum result for the coordination between articulation and the change of the pitch. But the activity of the fingers, they also have to do a little bit with the character of the music. In a slow movement, you would never play like this. And in a fast movement, this might be necessary to gain technical control over your passages. On the other hand, there's maybe one general rule which we can say: there should never be tension and everything should be really quite effective.
Walter van Houwe, who is, as you know, one of our technical referents in the Consort Counsellors, recommends something which is very helpful. The fingers rest naturally on the instrument, and the active part of the movement is when they go up, and when they go down, they simply have to fall back on the recorder.
And we are going to try this out with the following exercise. Concentrate on moving your fingers actively upwards and calmly downwards. And invent your variations with all kinds of different articulations. Slurred, completely staccato, and everything in between. Good luck!
Then we want to send greetings to Mika Kumagaya in Japan. She plays with an amateur recorder quartet, and her question is if it's a good idea to do something else before the rehearsal actually starts as a sort of warm-up.
And the answer is yes! It's a very good idea to warm up with your ensemble. You can choose either some technical exercises or some ice-breaking exercises with contemporary techniques. We have a couple of episodes for you that deal with this kind of exercises, and we leave them in the comments below.
And in the future, you can expect more. We also received a more personal series of questions from David de Wilde from Belgium.
What are your favorite recorders? What size do you prefer to play, if any? And what woods do you like for your instruments? And what's your very favorite special recorder and who made it?
I think it's impossible for any recorder player to choose just one instrument out of their collection. Not only because the great strong point of the recorder is that there are so many different sizes, so many different models, colors, tones, styles that you can play, but also because each instrument is connected to a special moment in your life, in your career, and they also therefore all mean something special to you. This being said, I enjoy a lot playing the middle voices in recorder consort literature and in polyphonic music. Perhaps for this reason, some of my most dear and favorite instruments are the 10 that form a consort of Renaissance recorders by Bob Marvin, who unfortunately passed away just a few weeks ago. And they mean the world to me not only because they sound fantastic together, but also because they allowed me to start a new project, Seldom Seen.
I completely agree with Maria that it's quite impossible to say what your favorite instrument is, but I do have a favorite size of instrument, tenor. It feels quite natural in my hands because I'm quite tall and still feels quite small, and what I like about it is that I can play middle lines in a high consort, but also the top line in a low consort. Within those tenors I find it really hard to pick one. I really enjoy playing the Bob Marvin tenor of the set Maria owns, but I also do like the special color of the Raffi tenor by Francesco Livirgi that I own. It looks very simple, but in its simplicity I find it very, very, very beautiful and a fluffy sound. And the third type of tenor that I really, really love is the Schnitzer model by Monica Moos. What I find so special about this instrument is the sound, of course, but also the way you can articulate. It speaks so well that you can really deliver your speech to the audience.
Another very special maker in this case of Baroque instruments is the von Hune workshop, and particularly the instruments of Friedrich von Hune. We were lucky when we were studying to get a couple of instruments from him, and later on with Seldom Seen we have been fortunate to play on some of the very special large instruments that were made for the Lucky Stardust Quartet. Those are also absolute masterpieces of recorder making. Finish with another very, very, very special instrument that we often lay our hands on. The Royal Wind Music has a whole collection of instruments made by Adriana Breukink, and the most special of those, simply because there are not so many of them, only 5 in the whole world, is the Sap contrabass. So certainly this is also a collection that has a very special place in our heart and in our career as consort players. When it comes to the type of wood, I think we really don't have a preference. Variety is the strong point of the recorder.
Last but not least, we got a question from Piet Versteeg, who asked us, how do we actually record Consort Counsellors episodes?
Basically, we divide the tasks, so we prepare beforehand a script, and some weeks Hester writes it and some weeks I write it. Then we send it to the other one, we check if we agree on everything we want to do, if we have suggestions, and we record it.
And while recording, we of course make a lot of mistakes, and these are the outtakes, and they are very fun to watch. 19th and 20th century, 19th and 20th century.
Oh, is it? Sorry. A lot of time goes into editing as well, and we also divide this, so some weeks Hester edits, some weeks Maria edits. In the meantime, of course, we work a lot together, so we have a lot of opportunities to discuss and to collect your feedback and ideas for future episodes. We try to touch on every possible subject that may be of interest to you.
We hope you enjoyed our Q&A episode.
And we look forward to the new year ahead with many more episodes of Consort Counsellors.
Stay tuned.
See you next week for the next one.
Bye bye.
If you like our stuff,
remember to subscribe to our channel and never miss an episode of The Consort Counsellors.